All right, if you go to a platform, PaperStack, Notes Direct, some other ones, Revolve Capital, all right, JKP Holdings, some of the different spots in that space where you can see some other notes that's out there. All right, they'll post up the tape. Whenever someone's talking about a tape, it's nothing more than a spreadsheet. It's all it is. All right, just so you get some of the terminology. But you're going to need to verify if what they have out there makes sense. So this is kind of our due diligence sheet that we go through. All right, as far as when we first start looking at a note, all right, we kind of look at it. What's the yield that they're showing? All right, does it fit what we're criteria? Is it a type of asset that we are interested in? Is it in a state that we want to be in, that we're interested in being in? Those types of things. So, one of the first things that we start doing, these are not necessarily in any particular order, okay? But we do run through all of these. All right, so we're just kind of going to go down the numbers here and kind of explain what each of these are. All right, first of all, we want to review the note and the mortgage or the deed of trust documents to confirm that the current amortization schedule, what was originally put up in the note and the mortgage or the note and the deed of trust, all right, it is accurate, and that the borrower is currently meeting the terms of the agreement. Okay, so you look into the note, it tells you the number of months, it gives you the interest rate and everything. So you're verifying that what they're saying based on when the note started and where they're at on that amortization schedule, is it exactly the same, all right, as whoever is promoting this note, if that is correct. All right, you're essentially checking to see if they're current. That's what you're essentially doing. They may or may not be, okay, but you're just making sure that what they are putting out there is correct, and what they're stating as far as the amortization schedule, that the payment makes sense, all right, the number of payments that's left on the note, that all of that is correct. So you're just re-verifying. There's mistakes that are made. We're all human. We make a mistake from time to time. So it's just a double check is what it is. Number two is you confirm that the yield on the note is at our purchase price. Okay, so if it's saying it's a 7.5%, all right, does it calculate out to being at 7.5%? Then what I'm saying here, what's for us to be able to get the yield that we want, we are typically looking at a 10% plus yield, net yield. All right. Is it in our purchase price range of where we want to be? We have that as roughly 30 to 70,000 is what we're looking at. You order the BPO, although I wouldn't necessarily do that. BPO stands for broker price opinion, if you're not aware of that. Or you do the self-analysis to confirm valuation. And the importance of that, if you're in a state that you really are not familiar with, or a town that you don't know, I mean, if you're looking at if you're looking at a note to say it was originally a 360 payment note, and they're down to 120, and the valuation of the home through what you could check with Zillow and a few other things is 100,000, and the unpaid principal balance is roughly around 50,000. Am I going to order a BPO to verify that? No, I'm not. I'm going to go through a couple resources that I have access to, that the public accesses, like Zillow, Realtor.com. Check the assessment on the county websites. If I'm comfortable, there's a $30,000-$40,000 spread in there, a cushion on valuation to what the unpaid principal balance. There's no sense in my eyes. There's no sense of spending the money for a BPO. Okay. Now, if you're pushing up to 70 to 80%, you're buying a note that's say only has a few 2-3 years seasoning on it, or even I've been looking at some notes that have less than a year seasoning on it. Yeah, I might, depending upon what the situation is and what the price that the note is, I might order a BPO at that point. All right, so you have to use your common sense. That's what you basically have to do there. Um, so that's part of the self-analysis. If it's in another state that you just don't have a feel for what the pricing structure is or anything like that, then it may very well behoove you to make sure that you have a BPO. I mean, BPO is going to cost you $50, okay? And there are services out there that will do that for you. Um, and we can give you a couple different services which network throughout the whole state, where you throughout the whole country, excuse me, that can get that for you. You're going to want to order a title report, all right, or do a self-analysis as well online to make sure that the seller has the right to sell the note and that there's no other liens that are above the mortgage or the deed of trust. Here becomes a question of like an IRS lien. An IRS lien is superior to what a first lien mortgage is. An HOA fee is superior to a first lien mortgage. A tax lien, all right, if it's gone to tax sale, that is superior to your mortgage. So you want to make sure that there's nothing that's superior in that respect. Now, we will almost always order a updated title, all right, which is going to run you about $100, all right. And we go through Pro Title. That's who we go through, which we'll do it in all 50 states. So particularly if we're going out of state, if it's someone local, quite honestly, I'll contact my local title company that I have a relationship with, and they'll just do what's called a pencil search for me, which is essentially nothing more than they'll do the search, but it's not certifiable from a title aspect is what it is, but it's the same search as that they would do for anything else, just to see it's there. If there's anything on there that's clouding title or superior to our first lien position. You want to review the borrowing underwriting file if the seasoning of the note is less than 24 months. All right, I talked about just recently purchased a note that's got about 10, not quite a full year of seasoning on it. Payment history has been good so far. I did not necessarily base my decision. I actually put this one in my self-directed IRA in my Roth. I did not base my decision up on so much the payment history. Obviously, that's a very important factor. But my final decision was based upon looking directly at the residential mortgage loan originator underwriting file. In that underwriting file, all right, shows what the credit scores were of the borrowers, what their current income is, so I could calculate the front end ratio as well as the back end ratio. Front end ratio being the payment to their income, which we like to see under 33%, under a third, and we use that same ratio as we're looking at for our rental properties, filling those. And then the total debt to income ratio, although Dodd-Frank allows you, I believe, up to basically 40, it's either 45 or 50%. I ideally like to see that at 40% or lower. In this particular case, their upfront ratio was like 29, 30%. So they're good. On the back end ratio, they're like 39.95. All right. Credit score wasn't, I mean, it was just barely under 600. I preferably like to have the credit score in that 650 or above range. All right. However, the gentleman in here had a bankruptcy about 5 years ago, so no question that was having still an impact. That was still on their credit score, having a negative impact on their credit score. Yeah, so it's still, I mean, that's going to stay on there for 10 years. And that's why they couldn't get a bank mortgage. All right. They put 10% down. All right. Put $8,000 down in this particular case. And she was I'm trying to think here. She had a job somewhere in the medical field, and they had both been on their jobs for a number of years. So really relatively stable. What basically looks like happened was that there was a bankruptcy for some reason. And obviously they can't file for bankruptcy for at least another 2 to 3 years. So I felt pretty comfortable in there. I had a healthy payment of 600 and some P&I payment. and it was a 240-month loan, if I remember right. So, and we purchased it. I purchased it at a yield that's giving me around an 11 and 12% yield. So, so I put that in my Roth IRA. So I will be looking here once we get out a little bit farther in the seasoning. I will look at probably doing a partial with that to recoup not all, but most of my money that I've got into it. So I can go do another one and bank another loan then in my Roth for down the road. So you want to if the payment, if the seasoning on the loan is not that long, you really got to dig into the underwriting of the note. That's what you really got to do, and you're basing your decision more on that. The more that you have the seasoning to evaluate, then that becomes much more of a more of a predictor. Okay, if they've got 10 years of consistent payments, all right, I really don't care what their credit score was when they did their underwriting. I really don't care at this point. They've proven that they're paying on time, they're managing things, and you're going to also check the taxes to make sure those are paid. Ideally, we want to have the taxes and the insurance escrowed as well into the payment to make sure that there's money being set aside that's going to get paid. And ideally, we would like to see the servicing fee payment built into the loan as well. We do that we are allowed to do that in this state. Most people never think about that. So it's very rare that you're going to see that out there. So just a couple things to look at there further. All right, the allonges. All right, you need to confirm if the note has been assigned a couple times, or if it's been assigned at all. Remember, the allonges is essentially the endorsement. All right, just like you endorse the back of a check, this is the endorsement of the note and mortgage saying, I am endorsing this over to such and such. All right. And then you need to check to make sure that you have an assignment. The assignment is the actual assignment of the mortgage over to you, of the note and mortgage over to you. The note is endorsed. The mortgage is assigned, or the deed of trust. All right. The note gives you, oh, I forget how this is. I got to make sure I say this correctly. The note gives you the authority to be able to collect. The assignment gives you the collection. Okay. You need to confirm that all taxes are paid up to date. All right. So you're going to check, you're going to go into the county tax site and make sure that they're up to date. You're going to confirm the homeowner insurance is up to date with adequate coverage and appropriate payees. So this is part of the due diligence process. And if you're looking at, say, someplace like PaperStack, a trading platform, these are the things you're going to be asking for once you come to an agreement. On PaperStack, I actually ask for some of these things up front. I don't ask for all of this, but I ask certainly for the note and mortgage. I ask for the payment history and the servicer notes is what I ask for. And if there has been any modifications, all right, I ask for a copy of those up front. That gives me the rough. And then if I make an offer, I'm going to go ahead and make an offer subject to final due diligence completion. And in that point, then I will get into, I want to see the title policy. If there is a title policy, if there isn't, then I want a title policy done. And then, because you'll be surprised, there's a lot of notes out here that don't have a title policy with them. Okay, you need a lender's policy and an owner's policy. And then I'm also going to request a copy of their insurance. That's what I'm going to do. Or verification that the servicer has documented in the notes somewhere, because that is their responsibility to verify that the insurance is up to date. And if you see that in the servicing notes, then you're fine. Okay. Confirm that the deed has transferred correctly. What we're looking for there is making sure that the deed from the previous transfer has the exact same legal description, okay, and that everything is notarized and recorded. All right, you need to have that recorded number up there in the upper right-hand corner. Confirm that there's an owner's title policy as well as a lender's title policy. You're going to confirm the current condition of the property. All right, I was just on one of the groups that I participate in the note space, and someone bought a land contract. All right, and when they had someone go, they had already closed on it. This is the thing. They didn't do their due diligence. They had already closed on it. And when they had someone go and take a look at it, all right, the house wasn't there. The city had demolished it. He had already purchased it. It's like, you got that wrong. You need to do that first, okay, before you're going to sign those payments. So you need to get someone that's got some eyes on there. Again, it can be a local realtor. There's services out there that would do that for you. Again, it's $15-20 to go and do it. So you're going to have a few costs, all right, in doing your due diligence, all right, just confirming that everything is there. Don't necessarily go by the pictures that are put up on some of these sites, because those are essentially Google pictures, what they are. Well, that could be 5 years old, okay? So you can't rely on that. So you need to take a current picture. The note that I was talking about, I just put in my IRA. I did not hire someone to go and take pictures of it. And the reason was I actually found the borrowers on Facebook. All right. And they had taken pictures of the home, how they had it all done up for Christmas. So I was fine with it. I mean, it looked beautiful. All right. It was much better than what the Google picture was. All right. So they obviously had put time and effort into the home, had been fixing it up. So the collateral is in good shape and it was still there. So, and that was like, I reviewed that like about 4 or 5 days before I actually submitted my purchase bid. So questions to this point? Anything right offhand that you have? You guys are really quiet. Okay, we'll move on. Oh, someone? Oh, no? Okay. All right. You're gonna request updated payment history, servicer notes. All right. The servicer notes tell you a lot. Okay. If you can get a copy of those, not always are they available, but if you can get a copy of the servicer notes, it tells you a lot. You can read a lot, know what's going on that borrower quite a bit. You're going to review any loan modifications and confirm that the modifications have been appropriately signed and notarized, all right, and documentation that they have performed or are in the process of performing, all right. You want to make sure that you've got updated payment history. The key thing is if you're dealing with a mom and pop, a lot of times they don't have it. It's not serviced, they're self-servicing it. And in those situations, you got to have some type of third-party proof, all right, that it is that the payments have been made, all right. Canceled check, PayPal. There's got to be some third-party verification to be able to know where you stand, all right. If not, then there's going to be a huge discount because you're taking on much more risk. So you need to be aware of that. 15, confirm that any trial payment periods. Sometimes if there's a modification, they'll go through a trial payment period, all right? And then at that point, that modification becomes permanent. So you want to make sure that that's been completed and that everything is, that the borrower is performing as they should be. Review any forbearance actions, confirm that the documents have been appropriately signed again and notarized. Confirm the current servicer, determine whether, where you're going to have it serviced. All right. We've done it both ways. We've kept a note with the same servicer. All right. And also, we've moved a note as soon as we've taken it over. Okay. At closing. You need to be particularly careful. What happens sometimes is the borrowers can get confused. All right. There is a goodbye letter that has to go out from the current servicer and a hello letter that has to come from the new servicer. All right. And there's basically about I think it's a 30-day time frame in there. All right. Sometimes the servicer can get confused on where they need to send their payments. All right. So you got to be tolerant of that, and you just not kind of need to stay on top of that, and make sure that transition goes smooth. It's not unusual that that a payment actually goes to the old servicer, and then they'll transfer it over to the new servicer, but it may take 30 to 60 days for all that to work out. Okay, so be patient in that process. So don't get all uptight. That's quite common, to be honest. So um, you're going to confirm that the borrower is not in bankruptcy, and if there is a bankruptcy, determine the type, the current status of the bankruptcy. Can you essentially get the house pulled out of the bankruptcy? And at that point, you're probably going to want to get an attorney involved at that point if you're going to take that over. Then you're going to you confirm that there's no local or county liens that are not recorded, i.e. water, sewer, HOA, weed, neighborhood code. So again, you can contact the local people in whatever county or whatever city it's at and see if there's anything pending. All right, it's all part of the due diligence process. And then prepare the allonge and assignment documents. All right. You're going to review expenses for recording of all documents and the due diligence items to establish the expected ROI on investment. Again, remember, when we're talking yield, most of the time that is looking forward. All right. And I kind of talk in gross yield and net yield. All right. And I shouldn't say that. But when Kyle and I are just talking, I kind of say net yield because, all right, we're taking the servicing payment out of it. That's not your full ROI. Your ROI is going to take into effect all of your due diligence costs. All right. You're going to take in the servicing payment, your recording fees. That's how you're going to actually calculate out what your full or your expected ROI is going to be on that over the long term if it continues to pay on time. You're never going to be able to know exactly what your ROI is until the note is paid off. Okay. But that gives you your expected ROI. Think of it as on the commercial side, you always talk about your scheduled rents. Think of this, your yield as being kind of like your scheduled rents. All right. And check to see if we can find a borrower information on any social media platforms to help determine just character and the integrity of the borrowers. Okay. It is unbelievable what you can find out on Facebook on people. Okay. Now I don't friend them. Okay. I'm not, don't think that. I'm not friending them or anything like that. I'm just going to see what are they writing on their timeline? What are they writing on their timeline? How are they conversing? What are they sharing? I'm being a little bit of a private investigator. Normally, if it's been fairly recent that they've purchased a home, it's not uncommon that they put pictures up on Facebook about the home. All right. So you'll be able to get pictures of what you're looking for. All right. As far as the quality of the home, really as most recent as you possibly can probably get. So, and save yourself a little bit of money in that respect. So. All right. Those are the basic things as far as the due diligence that you go through. It does take some time. Depending on the platform that you are on, sometimes you will have to make your offer first and then do due diligence afterwards. So whenever you would make an offer on a note, you're going to make that offer subject to, and they give you typically 10, 14 days to do that due diligence. I would make my offer subject to final due diligence, okay, or review of collateral file. Other ones, you can see some like on Notes Direct, you can pretty much see all of the collateral file that they have right up front before you place your bid. On Paper Stack, you get the preliminary up front and what the strike price that the borrower is, it's not borrower, excuse me, what the seller is wanting. That is typically negotiable. All right. On Notes Direct, that is not negotiable. That is the price. Okay. So it's either take it or leave it at that time. So, So you just kind of need to learn how the platform is. PaperStack, there is a escrow that there is a fee for PaperStack. You need to know what those fees are. It's normally you're gonna calculate in probably about $500 for due diligence and transactions, somewhere between $500 and $700. That's what you're gonna do. Okay, and you just put that. I calculate it into my purchase price of what I'm gonna offer. That's what I basically do.